have to give a call because I just have a permanent beautiful box on the front porch. So.
Okay, made out of Plarn, right?
Yeah, you know what? I should. That's a good idea.
Awesome. Awesome. So, whoops, I'm sorry. I'm actually starting. There we go. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. That was an amazing event. I was glad that we were able to put that together. And Bev, I know that you took a few screenshots. Could you share those with Lonnie so maybe we can get that on Facebook?
Yeah, and actually I did post it on Facebook,
Oh, you
and
did? Okay.
I'm gonna check with my intern. I know I tagged Harleysville Rotary on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then my intern does it on Facebook and Instagram. So I'll make sure that she tags Harleysville Rotary, but I can give,
Right.
thanks to Dan, had a great screenshot of everyone and then everyone holding up what they made as before and after. So that was really cool.
Yes. Yes. Well, thanks a lot, guys. And moving on to our featured speaker, I actually want to start off by thanking everybody for coming, including our guests. We have people from the Philadelphia area, Lansdale, but we also have former members on here as well. So if you're a guest, please introduce yourself. I think I will start with Jim.
Yes, Jim Heller. A lot of you know me well. I was a member of the Harleysville Rotary for 14 years and president 1 year. So Rotary is one of those things that it's kind of tenuous if you don't have a strong club. So I find myself in that situation, which it hit us during COVID-19. So I'm very interested in maintaining my old ties, and so I'm here. And I also especially thought the program would be good, so I made it a point to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Jim.
Yep.
And if I would have known you were coming, I would have asked you to play a little piano intro for us all.
I'll do it the next time. I'll be in touch with you. I'll do it the next time.
All right. That'd be great. Jack Brent.
Yes. Former member, past president of the club, charter member of the club. We just moved to North Carolina a few years back, but interestingly enough, chartered another club, Rotary Club of Surf City in North Carolina. So, I'm going to follow Frank Romano because this coming July, I'll be the president of this particular club. And it's kind of an interesting journey so far. I mean, between starting in North Wales, which had a Rotary Club that merged with the Lansdale Club that became North Penn. And now here we are full circle again because, I still try to stay in touch with everyone. And Frank and I share some commonalities having been past governors. So Rotary just gets in your blood.
Yes.
I mean, it just becomes a part of your fabric. And I heard Randy Floyd's introduction, and I've been on quite a few Rotoplast missions, not as many as Randy. Randy has
Jack got me involved in Rotoplast.
Well, that's how, yes, and my wife Ann. And so we're just the memories that we shared as a club that way, and continue to be involved. Hopefully, in the future, as Randy said, I might be able to still join up in one of these missions. I still have that desire, but I don't want to slow anything down for the rest of this meeting. So, you know how a past governor is. You can talk forever. So stop me. Just mute me. No. Okay. If you mute me, that's fine, Ken.
No, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. And actually, you sent me an email. Are you part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee?
Yes.
Yes.
We
okay.
have one. Yes. And that's one of the things I sent that I thought you might be of interest. And,
yes. You guys are having a speaker that we definitely want to talk to you about.
Okay.
So thanks a lot for joining us from North Carolina. Thank you. And Moana, you're muted.
Hi, I'm from North Penn Club, and I'm a president-elect right now, and will continue working hard as usual. So let's see how it's going to work next year. as a president. So let's see. And I enjoy your meetings and new guest comes. Very nice. And thank you for inviting.
Thanks for
And I
coming.
informed to the club, but somehow I don't know who can join. But the president, I just saw his email. He said that he was out of town, and by the time he came, it was late to send to anyone the email, so he did not send it.
All right, that's okay. That was Tom.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And I see a Francis DeCenci. Francis, are you available?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, here we go. Hey,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to start my video so you can
There
get a
we
look
go.
at it.
Hey, Frank.
Good morning. I want to say thank you, Dan, for the invitation. I'm currently the president and president-elect of the Birdsboro Club here in Southeast PA. So coffee cheers, everyone. Coffee. And once again, thanks for the invite, Dan.
Got it right here.
Well, thanks.
I got it right here.
Francis from
You
Bluebell.
can call me Frank.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks.
That's all right.
All right. Thanks. That does separate you from Francis from Bluebell. Hey, Francis, how are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Francis. I'm from Bluebell. It's my second year for the Rotary. Looking forward to participate more activity.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Francis from Bluebell is also on a committee with me as well. We had a few hours yesterday together. And Tyra, let us know about yourself and your connection with this club.
Part of the Harleysville Rotary. Haven't been participating for a while because of the stresses and strains of the moments, but looking forward to getting back into it in 2021. I am part of Univest. I am vice president and branch manager over at the Franconia office. So yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Awesome. Other than the speaker, did I miss anyone else? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Today is a special day. It's Inauguration Day, which we're not a political organization, but today is a special day for a few different reasons. We're finalizing the commemoration for Martin Luther King, who is a great civil rights leader. One of our thoughts was to have a culminating event with someone that may be able to give us a little bit about the legacy of Dr. King and the connection with today. So we reached out and we found a Rotarian who is part of the Bluebell Rotary Club. It's Reverend Charles Quann. I actually connected with Reverend Quann more than 20 years ago. I filmed his son's wedding long time ago, and he had invited me to a Rotary meeting, a breakfast meeting. I believe it was like at Michael's Deli or someplace like that. I didn't join at that time, but 18, 20 years later, I joined Rotary. And I don't have a bio written in front of me, but possibly Reverend Quann can give you a little bit about himself, and we can talk a little bit about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Quann, you're on. Thanks.
First of all, let me thank you for this opportunity. I take great delight in being a Rotarian, and I joined my fellow Rotarians this morning. I'm pastoring the Bethlehem Baptist Church in Springhouse. I've been here for 34 years. I'm deeply involved in the life of our community, Wissahickon Faith community. I'm a trustee at Abington, as well as Jefferson Hospital Interfaith Board and some other opportunities I've had. But this morning, I really want to focus upon the life and legacy of Dr. King. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. When I talk about Dr. King, I recognize that he was truly a man of great faith. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was his brother's keeper. 10 years before his death, he was described by Dr. Benjamin Mays of Morehouse College in this manner: "You are mature, far beyond your years, wiser than any 29 that most men are at 60, more courageous in a righteous struggle than most men can ever be, living a faith that most men preach about and never experience. Your name has become a symbol of courage and hope for oppressed people everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King's public career began in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama, where he led the fight against segregation of the public buses. It ended on April 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee, where he joined the fight to secure better wages and working conditions for the garbage collectors. When James Earl Ray, the convicted assassin of Dr. King, pulled that trigger of his rifle that awful night in Memphis, this world lost a great, powerful leader. Martin was a man of great faith, courage, integrity. He had a heart for people, people of all walks of life. It is said, let no man drag you down so low as to hate. Michelle Obama, former First Lady, said, when they go low, you go high. And we are living in a time when people are going low. Dr. King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. It is sad to say that there's darkness in our world. The events of just a few days ago in Washington, D.C., and the preparation for this inaugural has really caused the hearts of God's people to mourn and to grieve. For this country is full of racism, classism, sexism, in every walk of life. I believe with all my heart that Rotary, who puts service above self, calls upon us to speak out loud and clear about any injustice. We cannot be still. As Rotarians, we have to speak out loud and clear that injustice anywhere cannot be tolerated. I know that as fellow Rotarians, we travel all over this world, but there is hate in this country, and we cannot hide behind politics. It is not about politics. It's about human rights for all of God's people. We live in a society now that is so divided. And for those of us who are Rotarians who believe that service is more than just self, we have to take a courageous stand. Today, we will see a change, hopefully the kind of change that Dr. King dreamt about, where our world will be a better place. So in spite of all the hate, we see perhaps a new arising on the way when Joe Biden will become the president of this United States. And Kamala Harris, the first time a woman has held this office, and an African-American woman. I would challenge all Rotarians not to be silent behind politics, not to have intimidation as if to say we cannot speak out, whether it's Democrat or Republican. I know that as a Rotarian, I have been told many times in our club that politics cannot be shared. But honestly, we live in a political world. We remember the lives of those who gave their lives for this country. We honor God by serving others. Dr. King gave so much for people, not just African Americans, but people of all walks of life. He died so that this world can be set free. He was working with people who were getting minimum wages as garbage collectors. He touched the fabric of this society of ours. Even as we gather and observe the life of Dr. King just a few days ago, it is more than just a holiday. It cannot be a day that we just sit back and have activities, but the fight must go on. He fought hard. He was a fighter. He never gave up. His life was threatened time and time and time again. He spoke out when it was not popular. He stood against the fierce opposition of racial hatred. We are called so our children will live in a better world. We're called to stand for justice, for peace, for power. I know from my own experience what it means to be an African American in this society. Black lives do matter. When we are stopped by police officers, we are profiled. When we are committed of some meaningless crime, we are put in jail like we're criminals. Look what's happening now to those who were arrested in the uprising in Washington. If they had been protesters of Blackness, you would have seen lives lost. When Dr. King was protesting peacefully, dogs, vicious dogs, fire hoses, all those things that were against the people who were marching peacefully for freedom. You did not see those kind of responses last week. Now we're faced with, what do we do to speak out? Are we intimidated? Are we sad? We talk about diversity, but it's got to be something that we believe in. It's more than just adding numbers. It's more than just saying that it's good for business. It's because we believe in it. Dr. King believed in what he was standing for. He challenged the status quo. He did not allow anybody to push him out of what he believed. His faith was tremendously strong. His life is a legacy for what it means to be a man of faith, a man of courage, a man of integrity. When I joined the Bluebell Rotary, we had just got to the point that women were allowed to be Rotarians. I've been a Rotarian for over 25 years. And I remember when we had no African Americans, very few people of other ethnicities. And many of our Rotarian clubs still do not have a portion of minorities speaking. Yes, we go overseas. Yes, we have the Rotary International, but many of our clubs still do not have inclusion and diversity. We have to speak out, not because we want to increase the membership, because we believe it is right and honorable and true. This is a marvelous day in the life of this country. A new thing is about to happen, and we are part of that new thing. It is responsibility for all of us to do as much as we can to speak out, to call sin, sin, to call racism, racism, sexism, sexism, classism, classism. We cannot allow this country to go in another direction. And as Rotarians, we believe in valuing the life of individuals, those individuals that are near and dear to us, those individuals that we do not even know. So I'm grateful that God has given me the opportunity to be a fellow Rotarian. But far than that, I'm grateful that God has given me the opportunity to seek to make a difference with all of God's people, whether they are Black, Latino, Korean. We've seen what has happened to immigrants. We've seen how this country and this former president, yes, I said that, tried to disperse immigrants from coming in this country. But most of us have parents and grandparents who came to this country from other parts of the world. We cannot be silent. As we honor Dr. King, it is time for us to stand up, be counted, and not be intimidated, speak boldly about the truth. And the truth hurts. Let me also say, I've learned, as I shared with you a few moments ago, my involvement with Abington Hospital and my involvement with other facilities and committees, but I cannot be just a silent voice. You know what happens when you are that silent majority? We know what he's going to say. People tune you out. But it's up to people of all walks of life, Caucasians and others, to stand up so that no one is just speaking alone, but they are joined by other people who may not look like them. Because when we speak, sometimes our voices are put on hold, on mute, and nobody can hear us. But we have to have people around us, no matter what their color. Doesn't matter who the person is. I've joined with Rabbi Marks. Our relationship is tremendous. We've gone to the Holocaust Museum together. We have gone to the Frederick Douglass House. I've had an opportunity to preach at that synagogue. He's preached here at Bethlehem. We've forged a relationship about building bridges, and we've done that for more than 25 years. So we've gone to the North Penn Mosque across our own faith lines. We're seeking to carry out the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, not just by words, by actions, not by words, but by actions, that our deeds and our lives represent the life of Dr. King and others who gave their lives for this country and for people. We are now in the midst, again, in Montgomery County, of unfolding rich history, because the Abington North Penn Hospital, which was formerly the North Penn Hospital, now Abington Jefferson, was founded by an African-American, Dr. Frank Boston. That individual's name has been somehow put under the rug. We're making every effort for people to know that he made a contribution to this community. He made a contribution to the lives of God's people. We have to move beyond tradition and pull out those things that have been hidden from us. And so many things have been hidden. We're not what people describe us to be as thugs, as criminals. We are African Americans who love God, serve families, husbands, fathers, mothers. We are people of God with integrity, and we have been painted in ways that dishonor God and dishonor one another. We have to be challenged. I've learned also that when you speak, as Dr. King has done, you will be assassinated. You'll be killed. Your voice will be stilled. Your family will be put in danger. But if you believe what is right, you're not about popularity, you're about speaking the truth. And we have an obligation to God, to our fellow Rotarians, to people of all walks of life. I see people now who are fellow Rotarians who were not fellow Rotarians before. And now we have to increase not only the numbers, but hear their voices, let their voices be heard. One thing that we have not done, and it's really important for us, is we have to listen to each other. We have to be able to appreciate each other, to build relationships, so that when people speak whose voices may be different than ours, whose thoughts may be different than ours, the relationship will not be ended because of our differences. That's where we have to work, that our relationships are the foundation of our trust in one another. We cannot allow public perception to take us from who we are. We are strong, we are Black, and we're proud. The Black movement effort in this country is not about destroying anything. It's about lifting up the values of God's people. And I'm grateful for the Rotary, which I'm part of, and Bluebell, that allows me to be who I am without silencing my voice. And I speak loud and clear all the time when I see injustice, when I see that we can do things different. And I've learned to appreciate people who have a different perspective. Yes, we can agree and disagree and still maintain our humanity with one another. Until we're able to sit down and talk, then Dr. King's dream will just be a dream. It will be a fairy tale. So the question today is, what are we doing about changing the course of this country? What are we doing about changing the course of this world? What are we doing about diversity and inclusion? What are we doing about social justice? What are we doing about the political environment? What are we doing about the coronavirus? What are we doing about the number of people incarcerated who should not be in jail? What are we doing about housing? What are we doing about lack of education with minorities? What are we doing about the need to change this system? What are we doing if we say that we honor Dr. King? Then we have a responsibility to do what he has called us to do, to speak out loud and clear for injustice anywhere. And our voices must be heard, not with a whisper, not timid, but courageous, strong commitment to make a difference. And there are countless people in the political world, in corporate America, in social clubs, and other forms of opportunities and sororities and fraternities, that we stand for truth and justice. And peace needs to be, but justice also means to be. We have walked, we demonstrated, we voted, and we will continue to raise our voices, not just in the name of Dr. King, but others who gave their lives for the well-being of this country. So many men and women have given their lives for freedom, for justice, for equality. Here we are in 2021 with this coronavirus, and we still see disparity. We still see the minority of people of color getting this virus and dying. We still see the lack of the vaccine available to minority communities. We still see injustice in healthcare. We still see injustice in wages that are paid. We still see injustice in political system. We still see injustice in Rotarians. We still see injustice in the government, in schools, in places of business. And our voices must be raised. So when we're called home to God, the question is, what do we do to make this world a better place? What did we do? Dr. King sought to make this world a better place. Black men, white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, able to sing, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. That is our challenge today, to make a difference. That is our challenge today, to honor the life of Dr. King. That is our challenge today, to turn things around. That is a challenge today for our children and our grandchildren. That is a challenge for those who come after us. That is a challenge so that 20, 30 years from now, part of the dream will become a reality. It's a long way from happening, but it can happen. It will happen if we all work together, not just in celebrating a holiday, but more than that, standing up for injustice, standing up for truth, standing boldly declaring that God is not pleased. We say, America, one nation under God. We're a long way from one nation under God, a long way. But we can make that happen when we work together, when we listen to each other, when we respect each other, when we honor each other, and we come together as men and women of God, standing on the side of justice, equality, and fairness for all of God's people. Then we'll see a better world. Then we'll see the dream become reality. Then we'll see people join hearts and hands together to create a better place to live for all of God's people. So I want to thank you again. I pray again that hopefully some words that I've said have challenged us. I speak myself. I have been involved in so many meetings and boards and committees about inclusion and diversity. And so I was convicted. I was convicted. And I came back to this church, which is 133 years, and said, we cannot just be a Black church. I know who we are. We've come through slavery. We've come through everything else. But we cannot talk about injustice in the workplace, in corporate America, in politics, and not have it in the life of the church. Dr. King said, the most segregated hour is 11 o'clock hour. So what we have done, we have moved to become a church that embraces inclusion and diversity. We believe in what we say, so we're not just speaking words that are idle words. We're trying to make a difference. And I believe in my heart that all of us, whether we are in our faith communities, whether in our political world, whether we're in business, whether we're not a part of Rotarians or whatever life has given to us to do, that we can and should and must make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. That was an amazing, amazing message. Are you available to have questions, comments?
Yes, I am.
Right.
And again, I don't mind if people disagree, because I meant that before. Until we get to the point that we can have honest discussion, we'll never get anywhere.
Yes. Yes. All right. I don't know if I mentioned, Pastor Quann is actually a minister of the Baptist faith in Bethlehem Baptist Church in Ambler. So definitely that was an amazing message. And yes, very inspirational.
It makes you stop and think.
Uh-huh.
Reverend Quann, I had wanted, when we had talked earlier, you had talked about you mentioned relationships, and you had talked about the work with another Lutheran congregation and with a synagogue, and sort of the long-term relationship building and what that brings. Might you say a little bit about that and how you went about that, or how you're going about that?
Yes, I have been privileged to be a member of the Pearl Buck Foundation, and one of the members there spoke to me about how we could develop a relationship across faith lines. As a result of that, we have been working with St. Andrew's Evangelical Lutheran Church in Percy to come together and see how we can strengthen our bonds across faith lines, across religious lines. It's predominantly Caucasian church. We are still predominantly African-American church, even though we push the envelope. At the same time, we have worked with the Bethel Synagogue, as I mentioned earlier, and that relationship has grown. So we are working diligently with other congregations and being honest. I think we put together a social justice committee. They have a social justice committee, and we are honest in our transparency, reading books about all the things that have become such a barrier between us, white privilege, and to be able to say that without creating this kind of attack. And I know when you hear the word white privilege, some people become defensive, but there's some truth to that. There's privileges that all of us don't have. And until we get to the point to see that, then we really have no way of moving forward. Those who have stronger economic ties are privileged. Those sometimes who are born in a particular class society, they have privileges. So, until we're able to do that, but it's been a wonderful relationship. In fact, the pastor of St. Andrew just preached for us on Sunday. We had Diversity Sunday. He just came here to preach on Sunday. And so we sit down, have tough conversations, but moving forward, step by step, slow process. And we have a number of people who are on that committee. They have about 15 or 20 from St. Andrews. We have about 10 or 12 from Bethlehem, but it's a monthly meeting. We're taking small steps to get to the next step, particularly now because of virtual, but it's something in progress. And also, when I talk about relationships, our relationship with Beth Orr has been one that has been a blessing. And I remember very vividly when I went to take part in the Million Man March, and there was some pushback, but as I talked to Rabbi Marks, he understood why I was going at that particular time. So we've had a relationship that allows for difference. I tell people all the time, if you've been married 10 days and you tell me you and your wife have never had any disagreement, then something's wrong. So, I think relationships require, an openness to be honest. Any relationship that's open will allow for difference of opinion. It doesn't have to be a breakup of the relationship, but, that's part of life.
Definitely. And Rotary International. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mona.
I've had the privilege of hearing Reverend Quann on numerous occasions, being that our congregations, I'm a member of Beth Orr, so was Beverly. She's at another congregation now, but the relationship has been over the years where we share services. He comes and preaches at our synagogue, and Rabbi Marks goes and preaches there. We've done walks together against injustice. We've gone lots of different places, and it has been eye-opening and a wonderful sharing.
Definitely.
So thank you for that, Pastor.
Thank you, and I call him my friend, and I mean that sincerely. And not only that, but I call members of Beth Orr friends. I go to my wife and I go date night to Pumpniks, and if any of you know where about Pumpniks is, and off of 309, I see people there all the time, and it's a wonderful place. So I'm learning as well, but we're all learning together.
I haven't been to Pumpernicks for.
I'm giving Pumpernicks a plug.
There you go. All right, Larry.
Paul Klein will be pleased.
There you go. And I'd like to mention that Rotary International is dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's from the top down, but the effects have to happen from the bottom up. So myself and Mary Cook we're the co-chairs for the district's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which was formed back in August. We came together after the outrage of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's murders. So our committee is kind of a grassroots activity. You will be seeing a lot more coming out so that we can have conversations, uncomfortable conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion through the next couple of years. Part of the committee is the upcoming district governors. Bob Hobaugh is part of the committee, and Len Gessler. And also we have a new district governor nominee, I think is the next one down, Diana Donaher. It's definitely it's going to be a long-term commitment. We are dedicated to make sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is part of everything that we do, as well as our four-way test. So just a quick shameless plug. Francis, you had a question?
Peter, I think Peter from Bluebell also is in the committee, right?
Peter, yes. Yes, he was on the call yesterday. Yes. Yeah. And we do have Francis as part of that committee as well. But we'll bring conversations. We'll have a lot of great things going on. Thank you, Reverend Quann.
Is Dr. Asan Rodriguez on that committee?
Yes. Yes.
But you should know, I don't know if you know this, but he served as a very strong force in national ministries and felt the need to move to make a change and ran for mayor in Collegeville. We talk about politics, but his testimony, his strength has been seen. First African-American to be elected there, has served people of all walks of life. It's another testimony in terms of keeping the dream alive. And that's why today, and there are those who say, you know, well, you can't say anything because it's politics, but the dream today is being recognized that we have an African-American woman serving as vice president. We cannot allow people not to say that that's a step. I mean, we recognize George Washington and other people, and why can't we recognize this woman without feeling as though, well, we're crossing the political lines? Even in Rotary, I mean, this is who we are. And it's a blessing to our children to see that they can emerge to be something. It's hope again. So we got to change our vocabulary. We got to change our thought process.
Yes.
Don't make everything Democrat, Republican. Just speak the truth, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, we had Ace. Ace was one of our speakers. We actually, it wasn't a political meeting, but we had the mayor of Collegeville, the mayor of Lansdale, as well as a nonprofit owner on, and they were talking about the challenges through COVID. And that was one of our thoughts was to have Mayor Ace come back to have a conversation with us as well. So
well, let me also say this with you as well. One of the things we've tried to do, even in the midst of this coronavirus, we call it a fireside chat. And so we've had the police commissioner for Lower Gwinnett talk about how they deal with African Americans when they're stopped. It's a small police, but it's a wonderful police department here in Lower Gwinnett. We've had school. We had the superintendent of Wisconsin School. We had Val Arkush, the county commissioner. So we have tried to bring people from all walks of life, regardless. And we've had Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
And so, you know, I think, again, you know, we have to branch out from where we are. And change is difficult. Let me say that again. Change is difficult. And we're seeing now that a lot of the reaction is the fact that no longer is one Caucasians be the majority. That's what's happening in this country. And maybe even to the extent that we may be, you know, not the only minority. Well, we're not, because Latinos and other persons. So we got to be open to change. And the older we get, let me say this as I close off, the older we get, the more difficult it is for change. Yes. I'll go with that. I'll go for that stand.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Great message. Mohana.
Yeah, I just want to say, people sometimes call me by different names. And I say, no matter you call me by any names, means good. My name is changed by different ways. And I say, it doesn't matter. I'm the same person.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. This was an excellent conversation and an excellent meeting. I do have a few things that I wanted to mention. we have someone had asked about how to become part of the committee and what are we doing. We will be rolling out a few different activities in the next couple of months. This is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're trying to include all of the clubs within the district. The clubs have different demographics. There are some clubs that it may be majority minority, like different areas within our district. A few come to mind: Norristown, Reading, as well as clubs like the Harleysville Club, where it is majority non, well, majority white. So, but there's definitely a few different conversations that we are going to be having. We're going to start rolling things out in February, and different clubs will be having activities as well. So definitely you'll be hearing about a lot of that through emails, and I may have a few speakers come through as well during my time, and I believe we'll keep rolling it through the next couple of years. So we have about 10 minutes left to our meeting. Thanks again, Reverend Quann. We really appreciate you coming on, and it was an amazing message talking about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr. Quann, yeah, this is Marcia. I'm the club secretary, but I also do our weekly meeting newsletter. And if people had, wanted to get in contact with you or, have questions for you, can you share with us like an email address or something?
Sure. Be glad to do that. It's Pastor Quann at bbc4 Christ.org. Let me say that again. Pastor Quann, Quann, at bbc4 Christ.org. And the number at the church is 215-643-4977.
I'm sorry, I can't write that fast. 215
643 4977.
4977. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And with the guests that are still on, can you pop your email address in the chat, the guests that are on, so that our Sergeant at Arms can get your information in, and we will be sending you activities that we have coming up as a club. Thanks a lot. If you don't want to send it to everybody, you can send it to Chuck, Charles.
Dan,
yes. Yes, Jack.
Okay, so back in 1980, okay, we're really going back in time. One of my first mentors in Rotary was in the North Wales Rotary, was a man by the name of Thomas Cook. Thomas Cook was a black man. And it was amazing because at that point, North Wales especially, that he was like, there weren't that many black people in North Wales. Let's put it that way. He took me under his wing because he had been in Rotary many, many years, and kind of pushed me in the right direction and really opened my eyes to the fact that, here we are, Rotary International. Of course, back in 1980, there weren't even women in Rotary yet. I mean, because it was a fraternity of sorts. And, then as things opened up, by the end of the 80s, but Thomas always was there for me to kind of give me the insight into Rotary that I needed just to move forward in a role of leadership. And he was a great man. And he's one of the people you really miss. There's certain people that touched your life, and that, somewhere in deep inside of you, just mentioning his name brings back all kinds of memories. And anyway, for 1980, that was we were already, North Wales Rotary was pretty diverse. I mean, about as diverse as you could get.
Yes. And I had a conversation recently with someone at the international level in the European countries and in the United States. Rotary International is much more diverse than you would think. So if you guys can attend any of the international activities, check it out, because there are, you get people from thousands of different walks of life, for sure. For sure. Thanks for sharing, Jim. Jack, I'm sorry. All right. So let's see. We have 53. All right. I'm going to share a Martin Luther King quote. And that is, I try to do something on opportunity. And this is a great opportunity quote that I found from Martin Luther King. And it is, the time is always right to do the right thing. The time is always right to do the right thing. Don't wait for a special moment. It's always a good time to do that. We still have about 5 minutes. So I'm going to open this up to brags and sags. Normally, when we meet in person, for those who are guests, we normally do a brags and sags where you would give $1 for your brag or sag. And since we've been virtual, we haven't collected any coins. So this is a free brag and sag. So if you want to open up, I want to start by the sag of Carol's father. Sending prayers out once again to Carol's dad, who passed of COVID. So that was my one sag. And anyone else with a brag or sag?
I've got
And
one.
yeah, a brag.
It's
Brag.
kind of a brag because I'm learning here in North Carolina that they have, it'll be virtual, obviously, everything's virtual now anyway, but the president-elect's training session, PETS, will be held in March, 3 days in a row, and it includes all of North and South Carolina. And they've been doing it since mid-'80s, where they would get together in a different city over that course of time and put for, I forget how many districts are involved, but many districts. So it's going to be quite an eye opener. We were, kind of, as our district was concerned, we pretty, I guess you could say, parochial. I don't know the right word to say, but we never got out of our box too much. Everything here. I mean, even when women first became members of Rotary, we had about 5 clubs that absolutely no way were they going to have women in their club. Now, ironically, these were the same clubs that weren't doing well.
How about that?
So it was one of my challenges as a governor back in the year 2001, 2002. It was to open their eyes a bit to realize that this is a tremendous resource. I mean, women are hardworking, and they're probably do more work than some of the guys in the clubs. And so
That's the truth. They do all the work.
Yes, the better sex, definitely.
That support, I appreciate it.
Dan?
Definitely, thanks. Okay, go ahead.
Dan, I'm just going to brag real quick, and then I have to take off. But my brag is that through Zoom and other similar media, I'm able to remain in touch with the Harleysville Club and our good friends there. Just wanted to express that there's plenty of people that complain about the status of things, but Rotary is a way that you can actually make a difference in the local community and the world. So that's just the way I see it.
Definitely, yeah. And
Dan?
we're all
Dan?
moving towards a perfect union. Yes, there was 2 voices at the same time.
Jerry Beal.
Okay, Jerry, go ahead.
My brag is that I found out the other day, Martin Luther King Day, that my 3 grandchildren that go to St. Catherine's in Wayne, for their help that day, they filled Jenna blessing bags.
All right.
Well, thank you. That leads to me. So my sister is a teacher, and they do that every year.
That found out, Jackie.
Yes, but I would also like to tell you all I felt Jenna's spirit here today with me. And I just wanted to share, because some of you may not have heard, but one of her quotes, she was a writer. And this is kind of a brag because I guess I raised my children right. She said, "I truly believe in the good in people and the magic that can be found in all of us. I will always fight for what's right. I will always fight for equality for all."
She was
Nicely
amazing.
said.
Amen. That is nicely said. Amen. Wow.
Dan, this is Carol.
Yes,
I just
Carol.
want to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers. Just keep them coming. We have no funeral arrangements or anything at this point. My mom's been in quarantine. So today will be the first day that we actually be able to get to see her.
Right. Definitely.
Carol, Carol, this is Marcia. Can people send cards to your home address?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
I'm going to end the stream right now. All right. So we have.
Can I add one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Dan? Yeah, this is Marcia, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of a brag, actually, on behalf of our member, Jerry Beal. Jerry, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I were sitting together one day when we were still meeting in person, and we were doing the sign-in table, and we were sort of chatting, and you had looked at me and said, this club has become so much better since all the women joined. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. That was such a nice thing.
Definitely. All right.
Yes. I have a tip, maybe. I don't know. Two things. One is I'll brag. It was a very nice program today to that end. And since it's free, otherwise I don't know, I'd pay $1 to share this, but it is a tip. Dinner the other evening, we wound up with a ham that we received from buying so much food at the grocery store and so on. And it was there. So Bonnie cooks it all up and the whole deal, and start to slice. It was a pre-slice, so we sort of, it doesn't look so great. And consequently, we tried a little bit and it didn't taste so great. So we had this big spiral cut ham, and it's in this pan full of juice and so on. So the idea was, looking at like all this juice in the trash in this ham, we'll walk it to the wood's edge. Okay, so I take it back to the wood's edge, dump it over into the wood's edge. Well, that was in the evening. The next morning, 16 vultures perched in the trees on my rooftop, on the ground. My house looked like something from Alfred Hitchcock. Honest to goodness, you couldn't believe it. And we never see vultures. But there they were, and I kind of looked at it, oh my gosh, within a mile, they can sense the smell, but they all descended upon it. So if a tip, just put it in your trash can. Don't worry about feeding anything or throwing it on the wood's edge. Right. So just
they have to eat too, though, Bill. They have to eat too. Cleanup
crew. Exactly.
Pennsylvania is known as woods, right? So everywhere is woods.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I did go back and look. That bone was picked clean.
Wow.
At the end. But honest to goodness, I never saw so many vultures in my life. It was a scary sight. It was almost, yeah. But anyway, that's enough of that.
On that note,
Dan, last point, Dan, is just that for those that was sent out, there is another training for grants training for those that want to get more involved coming up. It's all virtual, and we can always use some more people. First of all, being familiar with the grants and how they work, and have our club strongly certified. So we appreciate it if others would just look into that. Thank you.
Yes. And 2 announcements. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a club assembly, and we will be talking about where do your dues go? That was one of the things that we're going to have a conversation about. The other is we're working on legacy. So Frank and John, who are the next 2 presidents after me, we were going to work on getting our boards together, transition, the types of things that we're looking at as far as strategic plans and action plans and all that stuff. So it's going to be a fun meeting. We also have a message from the from the district governor, Janet. Her video comes out tomorrow, so we're going to watch it next week. And I believe that it includes past district governors, from what I understand. There are different conversations about, why I joined Rotary. I believe they're going to have ours from Harleysville will be coming up in February. So there'll be a lot of great things in the coming weeks. And also on Monday, there's the president and president-elect for the area meeting. So we're going to have conversation with other area presidents between Frank, John, myself. So looking forward to a lot of great things. Thanks for joining us once again. And yes, make sure that if you like to join a committee, it's a piece of cake to start a committee or join one that's already started. Please do the best you can to do service above self. Moana, before I ring the bell, go ahead.
Yeah, two quick things I wanted to check. I tried to send you the email about the event, but it did not go through the email. So I don't know what is, when you send us, if I reply, it doesn't go. So I just want to check with
What was
you.
it? What's the event?
Now, upcoming event, I'll let you know. There is a January 26th, next Tuesday for our meeting. We will have a speaker. So I would like to invite whoever wants to come, please join us. So I will send the information invitation through our president.
All right, sounds
Yeah,
good.
but only that didn't work properly earlier. So I just want to check with you.
Okay. I'll send it over to Marcia, our secretary. She'll make sure to add that to information.
Okay. And I send my email. So somebody wants to get back